We're up at Mr. Maple the night before their open garden event that I'm speaking at tomorrow. By the time you see this video, this will be have been in the past, but I'm like a kid in a candy store because we were able to park our van here and we're actually staying overnight here. And they've left us alone with, I don't know how many houses of the funnest plants you can find. The combination of conifers, Japanese maples, other species maples, incredible dogwoods, all kinds of things. We could spend, this could be a 5-hour video of plants. Just in this one greenhouse, we could probably make an hour-long video. It's just unbelievable. I'm definitely carrying one of these yellow canaries home. This is one that has been on the list. This is one of the one per customer items they've got in a lot of the houses right at the front. They've got some of the rare, the rare plants. There's some red pandas, a few red pandas, some ladybugs, and again, they have one per customer tags on them because there's not a lot of these. These are fairly, still pretty rare out in the trade. But we're going to walk through this greenhouse and show off a couple of the interesting Japanese maples, maybe a couple dogwoods that are back there as we go. But I'm going to set my yellow canary down before I forget it. One of the beauties of Japanese maples and other species maples that they have, and others as well, is that you can use them so many different ways in the garden. There's all kinds of, there's incredible dwarf varieties. Here's a group of there's like 5 Maydays here that are in the one per customer aisle. But at our house, we have, a weeper. I think this is red dragon, but we have Tamukiyama in our garden. It's going to be wide and weeping and very fine foliage like this. Then we have hot blonde, but it's upright and has that beautiful gold color on it. We've got Twomley's red sentinel, which is super narrow and upright and red. And then we have, lower growing ones as well. And they just fit into the garden texture wise, with so many things. Because you can get, when we talk about design, we're talking about, the texture, the type of foliage basically that you're looking at on there, where if you put this against something that's a larger leaf, and then of course there's the shape of the plant. Again, here's something that's upright, kind of V-shaped, get pretty big in the garden, and here's something that's kind of a low and mounding wide habit, and then look at the foliage color differences that you can get. So those 3 things work together in the garden, and so that's the beauty. We probably didn't set out to have a collection of Japanese maples at the house, but we do. There's incredible variegates in here. This is First Ghost. Look at that. Look at this incredible variegation. When it first comes out, it has this little bit of a pink hue to it, and then develops that variegated leaf. Pretty vigorous growth on these. You can see how much they've actually grown since they've come out. We're filming this at the end of May, but look at even just the individual maple varieties lined up in here. Look at all the contrast you get in color and texture and habit. So again, it's like a kid in a candy store. I don't know how many varieties they actually have. I think they've told us in the past it's a lot, but they have some of these super rares that for this open event they have in these little pocket here or there where it says one per customer. I think people can find as they go through these houses. A really exciting one in here, this is a Cornus moss, and we've shown off Cornus moss on NC State's campus. There's one right in front of the horticulture building that's beautiful, but it is every bit as wide as it is tall. These bloom yellow in the spring, where we think about most dogwoods blooming white. This one actually has yellow flowers on it. And then it actually develops this beautiful, beautiful bark in the future. But of course, a lot of gardens, if I'm telling you a tree gets 25 feet tall and also gets 25 feet wide, it's kind of ruled out of a lot of gardens. It would definitely be ruled out of our garden, despite the fact that we absolutely love Cornus moss. But this one is called Saffron Sentinel, and it's an upright, vase-shaped, or a more fastigiate growth habit. So equal in height, as you would expect from this, 20 feet tall or something, but more like 10 to 12 feet in width overall. So I really like this plant. We picked a single tree for our front garden, and we ended up picking that Amelanchier, but this was definitely been on my list if if it had been around, at that moment, just having an upright, narrow Cornus moss in the front garden. Beautiful, beautiful plant. And again, the maple varieties go on and on and on. But here's butterfly. If you're following the channel, a few weeks ago we shot a Japanese maple video with the Swansons in their garden in Raleigh, and we saw butterfly. What a great Japanese maple this is. So you guys have seen that Feeling Blue Deodar cedar we have at the house. This one is called Feeling Sunny, and you can see why. With that gold instead of that blue, of course it has that blue kind of underlying it. These have been staked up, so that's what you have to do with these, because they're actually kind of sprawling. If they weren't staked up in any way, they just go flat across the ground, which is kind of what our Feeling Blue is doing at the house. But you can stake up a piece to any height you want it. So you could stake up a single trunk to 7 or 8 feet if you wanted to with this plant. But ultimately, it's kind of stake it up to the height you want it, and then everything else is going to weep downward on it. But that is definitely a plant that would definitely be on our list of plants to get. It's also going to be pretty heat tolerant. But you can see incredible conifers that they have up here. Some of them would probably be a little marginal for us, down in the Raleigh area, but some of them are very, very heat tolerant. So that part would be kind of all over the place. Another one we can definitely grow, and we have, is this cryptomeria Steph is showing you now, called twinkle toes. Little teeny tiny dwarf cryptomeria. Of course, there's cryptomeria to get 70 feet tall, and then cryptomeria that are like that one. I think how big is our twinkle toes now? Maybe that size after 3 years. Yeah, something like that. So that's actually a pretty big twinkle toes cryptomeria right there. I don't know what the price is on it. I haven't seen the price on that one, but that's a good looking plant. Then you can see all of the just this incredible conifer collection. Again, they're up here in the mountains, so they have that option to grow a lot of the really a lot more conifers than we can down in Raleigh. But they do have a Cedrus atlantica here. I talked about that. First one was a deodar cedar, or Cedrus deodara. That's one of the actual cedar species. We call lots of things cedar, but not, there's only just a few actual cedar species. But this is Cedrus atlantica Hortsman. This one is kind of a medium size. We have one at the house called Sapphire Nymph that stays very small. This one, after about 10 years, would be somewhere in the 8 to 10 foot range. You can actually shear this and get it kind of fuller, Christmas tree like, or you can leave it with this kind of open habit that this one has here. But it has that beautiful foliage. It's heat tolerant, really kind of an easy overall plant in the garden. But it's actually, again, one of the actual cedars. There's another one of these deodars with the gold foliage here, stuff called Aurea. I don't actually know how big that one gets, but you can see it also has a weeping habit. So it's probably, again, exactly like that other one, like that Feeling Sunny over there, where it's whatever height you stake it to is the height. Everything else is going to weep down from there. This is a plant that I used to grow, but I don't think I've ever talked about it on the channel. This is a willow, Salix integra is this species, and this variety is called Hakura Nishiki. And it has this incredible color changing, this foliage that just changes colors all season long. Anytime it's actively growing, it has these pink colors, and then has this variegation that takes over the almost solid white and then green down in the plant. They tend to look their best for us in Raleigh in the spring as they're coming out, and then they'll settle into kind of a darker color later in the season. A little bit of variegation in them, but not as much. Definitely in northern areas, it's going to keep that variegation a little bit better. But there's nothing that show off in the garden more than this plant. I think it needs pretty even moisture. I've seen these die in places where they've been kind of left to their own, forever in Raleigh. If it gets to be, we get 95 degrees consistently for a week or something, and don't, this is a plant probably to continue to water in cooler areas. Not as big of a deal. But what a showstopper. You don't need flowers with that, right? I mean, you absolutely just don't need flowers with that plant at all. There are a ton of let's see what variety this is. There's a ginkgo here called Chichi. I don't actually know what habit that one has. I don't know if it's a larger growing one or a smaller growing variety, but there are a lot of ginkgos here. We've walked by a bunch of them this morning or this afternoon walking around here. But what variety do we have out by the road? Gnome. So we have a little dwarf one out at the street at the house. So they have dwarf ones, and then they have larger growing ones as well. More of these cornus moss. So there's a few more of these than I thought they were, but people should grab these. What a plant that is. What a cool plant. Oh, look at this stuff. Here's our variegated hydrangea, Yuki Gesha. We don't see these actually out in the trade very much, but they have them here at Mr. Maple. What else? Again, a lot of macawas. There's actually hydrangeas in here. We've seen some deciduous azaleas. What else am I missing? Stuff that we've seen in this house. A few more dogwood varieties. Just a lot of specialty things in here. This is a really cool tree we've never talked about. This is Davidia involucrata, or the handkerchief tree, or the dove tree, people call it. There's a variegated version of this that I really want to get my hands on. It's a beautiful tree, but when people see this flower on this thing, it literally looks like little handkerchiefs hanging off the tree from underneath the branches. It's really super interesting. And super underused tree overall, but again, there is a variegated one of these that we may end up, if we find, I think they have it here, and if we find one here, we may be taking that one home. There's all shapes and sizes of things, and they have a lot of the newer red buds in here as well. But this is Kindred Spirit, which is Quercus robur X bicolor, right? Is that what it is? And we saw this down at Durr's house when we were filming down there, but the back of this leaf is just like this two-tone. The top of the leaf is one color, bottom of the leaf is another. It's in this house, and so I think it's losing a bit of that two-color look it has. But what a beauty this is! What a plant in this perfect form. And it was at his house too. I mean, it was just his was. Dr. Durr's was. How tall do you think that plant was? 15 feet or something like that. And it was still just as perfect as this. Really beautiful plants. Look at this group of moonrise. Let me get one that has the good foliage on it. Look at this, the new growth. One of these full moon Japanese maples. This one is upright. I mean, probably 10, 12 feet in 10 years, 15 years, something like that. What a maple that is. It's really beautiful. And then here's some of those variegated macawas. Snow kitten. It's got a high graft, so this thing would just look awesome in a container, for like the next 5 years, 10 years. You could grow this in a container. This is one of those one per customer items they have in here. I imagine most of these will be gone tomorrow. They're not inexpensive. I mean, obviously this is a super slow grower, so they're grafted, and how many pieces could you get off of one of these to graft onto and to make another one? So you'd have to wait a long time to have enough material to root these or to graft them in any big numbers. But what a beautiful plant. Here's that Chionanthus pygmaeus we have at the house. This kind of rare, actually almost extinct in the wild Chionanthus. We of course have Chionanthus virginicus, which is native to North Carolina, and then this one is native to North Florida, but grows well. These have been staked up higher. You see ours in the native garden is a low graft, and then it splits right up above the graft. So ours is going to grow more shrubby, but those have been staked into much more upright trees to stay out of the space. That's a beautiful tree right there. There's in these, again, they've placed these one per customer plants here and there all over the place, and this is kryptonite here. Look at this really cool foliage on kryptonite. Really delicate little Japanese maple. That is a beautiful plant. We've seen this Styrax japonicus a few times now. Steph and I saw this in Raleigh at a nursery, Panther Creek's display at a Raleigh horticulture show a few years ago at a nursery show. Just blown away by this thing. Since then, it's become more and more available pretty quickly. But it's a weeping black. It starts off with this black foliage and has the white flowers. You see the white flowers down there. There's a few left on here, but they've kind of bloomed out at this point. But it leaves out black with those white dangling flowers on it. I think we covered this one in the 50 flowering tree video that we did a week or two ago now. As you're watching this, I think we covered 3 different Styrax japonicus, and then since then we've put up a video from the native garden and shown off the American fringe tree. There is an American fringe tree as well. Again, that one's in the native garden. It kind of grows a little more shrubby. You can have these. This is a weeping Styrax, obviously, but the normal Japanese Styrax is a larger growing tree than the American, more shrubby plant. There's really cool weeping redbud here. This one's called Pink Heartbreaker. Really a little bit more sturdy overall. Some of these weeping redbuds, the center stem doesn't seem to be as sturdy. I should probably not. I'll slide that one back in by the pot, but that is a really great looking tree right there, and all of them look like that. You know, are vigorous. You know, have a little larger caliper center stem on them. So I'm thinking it's just maybe a little bit more sturdy than some of the other weepers out there in the world, because our golden falls just kind of has to stay staked. There's what else am I missing stuff? There's incredible ginkgos in here, an incredible collection of ginkgos. There's a dwarf Chinese fringe tree. We saw the other one back there. Some dwarf ginkgos, and just on and on and on. Incredible collection of Japanese maples here. I really want to come up here and start doing one-off videos on some of these at some point, just to get, just to film a bunch of these, because it's unbelievable. I grew Japanese maples at my nursery. That Tamukiyama that has the twisted trunk is the one that I grew. But I grew like 5-6 varieties. A lot of the nurseries, that's what they grow. These are not any harder to grow. The weeping Styrax is no harder to grow than an upright Styrax. The dwarf ginkgo is no harder to grow than the upright ginkgo. All these Japanese maples are equal in how they grow. But there's just a vast selection of them out in the world. But in the trade, we end up with like the same 90, to 120, 130 plants that are just kind of commercially available everywhere. And they just kind of overlap everywhere. When there are 1,000 different Japanese maples, that we could grow. But I don't know how that ends up happening, that the same 5 basically end up in the trade, when you can go down a rabbit hole in something, even in azaleas or whatever it is, you'll just see the same ones when you go places. And I don't know what causes that. I guess it's some sort of human behavior that we have, that we all want the same thing or something similar, the nicest one or whatever it is. But then you come to a place where somebody's really gone down that rabbit hole, and trust me, there's no matter what you do in horticulture, no matter how much you think you grasp something in horticulture, someone's gone deeper down that hole than you have, and they really know a lot about it. So it's just kind of fun. Here's that Miss Ciori hydrangea that we have at the house. We showed this off last year. We don't get quite as much of the dark foliage on it as you'll probably get in cooler areas of the country. We do when it's initially coming out, but it greens up a little faster for us. This was the 2014 Chelsea Flower Show winner, I think. And in order for a hydrangea to be released now, it should be just super interesting. It has to be something different. It has to push the boundaries in some way. And this plant definitely does that. It's got that really beautiful dark foliage as it's coming out. And then it has this pink flower cluster that's kind of edged in white, each individual flower. It's just unique in every way. I love that plant. And ours was just starting to bloom before we left the house. So if you're following along here, we'll show off the couple flowers we're gonna have in its first year in the ground, because it's only like this big. Of course, look at all the macawas that are here. I showed the variegated macawa earlier, but look at the collection, how many macawa Yatsubusa Japanese maples are actually here. This is kind of the Japanese maple. This is the Japanese maple collectors are, seems like most drawn to overall. Of course, again, there are hundreds of different ones in here. But macawa has this, that layered thing it does, where the foliage is just kind of laid on top of one another. And it's just so interesting. You see that? it really is incredibly striking. It's got everything you'd want in a Japanese maple. These are higher grafted, so these are perfect for containers. So if you were getting one and you wanted to container plant one of these for a long time, this one is grafted a little higher up. You'll see them grafted down, see them potentially grafted down lower or grafted up high like that. This, we have one in a container at the house. Ours is a low graft. One of these that's higher grafted like this is a better candidate for a container because I can underplant it with annuals during the season, right? It doesn't take up the whole pot. Ours takes up basically the whole pot. So these would be great to order, for a container. You could leave it in a container for the next 5 years probably without, having any issues with it, as long as you don't let it just kind of freeze solid. It stays frozen solid for a long time. Really, really easy plant. So there you go. There's some of the things, I mean, literally some of the things at Mr. Maple open house. So we're excited to be here. If you're watching this, maybe you were somebody who was here yesterday or the day before. I don't know when this video will go up in the order of things, but it's on Monday when I'm actually, I was speaking here as you're watching now. But we'll get back up here to Mr. Maple at some point in the future and show off some more of this cool collection of plants that they have here. Thanks for watching.